Hi guys, it's Ryan Fowler with Inner Masculine Live. I have my great close friend Teresa K with me. Teresa K, we're going to start doing a weekly show with her, and she is inner feminine. And Teresa, I've known her for years. She has done a lot of different modalities and methodologies for reprogramming your subconscious and your mindset and all of that. She's done it on herself. You know, her and I, we both come from a background of having to work through a lot of stuff. And she's now a very successful businesswoman. She does quite well. She's actually one of the highest quality people I know. So you're welcome for the compliment, but it's true. And so I'm going to start doing a weekly show with her. I focus on helping men, but ultimately my goal is to uplevel the entire human race. Men and women are supposed to get along. They're supposed to be together. Women have their unique perspective. Men have their unique perspective. So once a week, we're going to do a show where you get both the feminine and the masculine perspective on subconscious reprogramming, up-leveling your core, your mindset, being happy, being successful, all the good things that we want you guys to have. So we are going to talk about self-belief today. We have a great Tony Robbins clip. If we have enough time, we have another Tom Bilyeu clip. We'll see if we have time for that. And we're going to comment about what they're saying about self-belief, but we're also going to share our own story, because I know as myself, I came from a very low place where originally I believed I was worthless. And it's because of some messages that I was told, and also how I interpreted things in my childhood. And when I felt that way, I massively struggled. As I've built my self-belief, and some shifts were very rapid using hypnosis and some other methodology. And I don't just use hypnosis, although it's the most powerful tool. Teresa actually has a much wider tool set and things she does. So she's going to talk about that. But as I built my self-belief, it's like my income doubled again, had more success in dating and all areas of my life, made more friends, more confident. Self-belief is the key. Self-belief is the foundation, not just a cognitive, what you tell yourself, but what you feel deep down. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But I would like, without further ado, Teresa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm excited to be here and working beside you on up-leveling the males and females in the world, right? Everyone in the world. Today it's a little bit of a landmine, right? Walking around, tiptoeing around what we can say and not say: female, male, masculine, feminine. I don't know, but I'm excited to be here.
Whatever, we'll go to Spotify or whatever Joe Rogan went to. We'll go to that if they cancel us. It's all good.
Yeah. So gosh, you just said so much in that introduction. And
tell us maybe your background, how you came into this space of wanting to help people, and how these methodologies helped you and transformed your self-belief.
Well, to start, I think everybody struggles with a positive self-belief. And we're calling it that instead of self-esteem. Most people probably think of it as self-esteem, but it's a belief of that from inside, internal, you are enough. You can accomplish anything that you set your mind to. And I think most people, I don't know anybody, I've never met anyone who doesn't struggle in that area of life. And I've been around a very long time. I've worked with a lot of people. And honestly, I don't think I've met somebody who has never had a struggle in that part of their life.
True.
How I came to this work and the work that I do, I am in financial services. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner.
And you do quite well.
Thank you. I've worked my butt off. I've worked my butt off, not only in taking action for my business and to become successful in my business, but I believe everything is an internal work first. Everything is an inside job first. Your outside world is a reflection of your inside world. And we can wear a mask for only so long. We can pretend and be pretentious, and we can, show the world that we've got it all together. But eventually the cracks will be.
There's always cracks in the mask at some point.
Yes, eventually that happens. And growing up, I can say that I had very, very low self-esteem. I'm not here to put blame on anyone, parents, school, environment, none of it. For whatever reason, I really did not feel comfortable in my skin in so many ways. I remember being in junior high and I was just internally so sad and so depressed and just felt so ugly. And
you're not ugly at all. You're a good looking woman.
Oh, thank you. Well, it begins as an inside job in terms of belief first. The whole world can tell you you're amazing and gorgeous and beautiful. Look at Hollywood, right?
Marilyn Monroe. Everyone loved her. Still, she felt horrible inside.
Right. It all begins inside. It is all an inside job. And ninth grade, I went to a private school first day. And I see these girls. It was an all-girl high school, private school. And these girls were wearing medals on their uniforms. And I looked at those girls and I asked one girl, I said, hey, what does the medal mean? Like, what does it mean that you're wearing this medal? Because they were obviously special, right? Everybody was in the same drab, ugly blue uniform, except these girls just shine because they were wearing these little medals. At least that was my point of view.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, I'm in student government. I'm in student council. And at that very moment, I remember, Ryan, I said to myself, whoever I need to be to wear that medal, I'm going to become that person.
Okay.
I don't know where that came from, but I went from being a very shy, very sad, very introverted girl to being whoever I needed to be in student council. And not only did I make it to student council my sophomore year, my
and how old were you? Was that 12 or 13 when that happened?
Yeah, about 13.
Okay.
12 or 13.
So your subconscious is still developing somewhat at that age. Okay, keep going.
Could be. But I figured out the mask I needed to wear. This is a really important thing. I figured out who do I need to become, right? From a mask perspective.
Not from a core perspective.
No.
Okay.
Junior class president, senior class president, sophomore. So how did that happen? Well,
and why did you need to become that? I need to become this in order to get what?
Well, that was my thinking. What actually happened was I put on a really, really good mask, but that same scared, shy, sad little girl was still inside of me. And it wasn't until I started, at 16, I got my license, I got my car, I drove to the bookstore, devoured the personal development section, and started learning that it was an inside job and started seeking, help to heal that little girl and reprogram myself. Because it's not superficial work. It's
deep core stuff.
It's deep work.
Have you ever tried the traditional talk therapy sitting?
Oh, I did. How
did that work compared to the other energy healing or hypnosis, subconscious reprogram, the other modalities you use? How do they compare?
There is an absolute place for every single tool out there.
I do agree with that.
And some people will resonate with one tool more than another. And it's also, where are you in life? At that time in my life, in my early 20s, when I went to therapy with the traditional PhD psychologist type of therapy scenario, it was the most appropriate tool and relationship for me at that time. And we're going back a really long time. So there wasn't like there were a lot of other modalities out there.
That was like what, early 20s? That was like 10 years ago. That's a long time.
That was 10 years ago. No, it was more like goodness, almost 40 years ago. It was a very long time ago. There weren't a lot of other modalities. What were there? Psychiatrists, drugs, medications. There could have been some way out funky stuff available. I wasn't aware of it. At least not at that time. And then
I actually used some, conscious mindset kind of CBT-ish, cognitive tools, but I understand it's for kind of managing things when they come up from your subconscious. And they can slowly over time change your subconscious to a limited degree. So I think those techniques do have their place. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there were tools back then. I remember, well, the talk therapy was extremely important because at the end of the day, we all need a witness. We all need validation. We all need someone who understands us.
Yeah.
And therapy, you know, the traditional therapeutic model gave me that at a time that I needed it so desperately. And a safe place to talk, a safe place where I would not be judged. You know, as I was a young girl, I was actually going to law school. In my early 20s, my peers, my friends around me, could they, you know, think of a 20-year-old today or a 22-year-old, although they're much smarter than we were back then. If you were feeling really bad about yourself, what would they tell you? And you went to them for advice, right? What kind of advice would they give you? I did have a few very special gifts. And one was somehow, I think God downloaded into me a concept that I use differently today, but it was living well is the best revenge.
True.
And today I don't use the revenge part. I don't need
I don't even care about the revenge either, but it's kind of it's the best victory. That's
living
how I look
well.
at it.
Yes. And I have a company that I named after that.
Yeah.
Living wealthy,
Living
right?
well. Yeah.
Living well. And for me, it was about making choices that helped me feel better to live well. Back then, it was the best revenge. So that was a really, really important concept, guiding light that really helped me.
Okay.
So from there, you know, learned hypnosis, worked with a hypnotherapist. I've worked with a bunch of different coaches, you know, the SOS method that you work with.
Subconscious optimization system, dive to the 5. Yeah, those things.
Yep. Dive in the 5. You know, I work with some amazing energy healers, coaches. I believe basic tenet, it's all an inside job. If you believe that the change in your outside world has to start inside, then we've got to go inside. And I don't know anything better than going inside and communicating, sounds a little weird, with your shadows, with your feelings, understanding where is that programming, where are the beliefs coming from? Because your outside world is a direct reflection of what is going on inside.
True. And once you up-level your inside, it's only a matter of time before your outside catches up.
It has to.
It has to.
It has to.
100%.
And wherever you are right now, Ryan, wherever you are right at this moment, it is a reflection of your inside job. You have created.
I must be a Mexican at heart because I'm in Mexico now.
Because you're in Mexico. But getting you to Mexico, you had a belief. There was a programming. There was something inside of you that said, hey, I'm going to change where I live.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be there.
Yeah. And so today's episode is on self-belief. I will say, you know, you're talking about talk therapy earlier. I think talk therapy is great. I do think by itself, it's always incomplete. I'm just giving you my take. I think you always need at some point to go to the deeper modalities to really get your core up leveled. And I think that's where CBT can partially change your core, not completely. So that's why I do hypnosis, and, you know, you transition to energy healing hypnosis, other things like that.
I agree with you, by the way.
What's that?
I absolutely agree with you 1,000%. And today, with all the different modalities that are out there, you know, therapy tends to look to the past. Sometimes we need a witness to validate our interpretation of our past, our story of our past. That is so important, but it's only one tool.
Yeah, it's one tool. I think everyone at some point, you got to start somewhere, whether it's CBT or, I mean, honestly, I think hypnosis overall is massively more effective, but I still use CBT techniques because when you're going through life, you can't just in the moment say, oh, I'm triggered. Okay, I'm going to do a quick hypnosis session. It's like, no, you're going through life. You got to work. You don't have time for that. That's where, okay, let's do some self-talk real quick to get me in a better spot on the fly so I can just keep going, you know, and that's, but also having new concepts introduced to your conscious mind that can then kind of seep down into your subconscious. CBT is good at that as well. Now, with that said, all great, awesome points you made. We're going to focus today on fixing your core, fixing your conscious mindset, all of that, in order to up-level your self-belief. Because when you're talking about it's an inside job, and when you fix your inner world, your outer world catches up. At the core of that, I think, and feel free to say otherwise, but I think at the core of that is ultimately self-belief. It's what you believe about yourself. It's what you believe about your value. It's what you believe about your ability, your potential. For me, if you don't have a good core self-belief, you're just going to be stuck in life. Once you get this good core self-belief, you just go after what you want. And you get it because now you believe you can get it. Now you believe you're worth it. Now you believe you deserve it. We're going to watch this. Any comments on that before we go to the Tony Robbins clip, and then we'll analyze that?
Yeah, I think self-belief, it sounds so simple and basic, but underneath the umbrella of self-belief, you've got your beliefs, your programmings, your shadows, your feelings. You know, there's a lot underneath just self-belief. Oh, I believe I can do this. No. There's so much underneath there.
And yeah, some people talk themselves up, but deep down in the core, they still believe they can. So go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's the shadow beliefs. It's the feelings. It's the programming. It's, you know, the people around you and what they told you, the people around you and what they believe about you. It's genetic. What did you inherit? It's the sins of the father, right? Going back many generations. What did other generations believe? You know, we are born.
As children, we observe I don't know how to survive in this world. What's my mom doing? What's my dad doing? What are they like? I'll copy. A lot of what genetic. We do is copy.
The imprint that we're born with, right? That is passed down from generation after generation. I came from, 7 generations of winners. Like my legacy is one of winners. I've got winning blood in me, DNA in me. That is a very positive foundation. What if you don't have that, right?
Yeah. All right. Very good. So without further ado, we're going to pull up this. This is going to be an excerpt from a Tony Robbins clip where he talks about self-belief. Really great clip. We're going to play it and then we will comment. I think it's 3 or 4 minutes and then we'll comment. And I'm a boomer, so yeah, it'll take me a second here. All right, here we go.
Most people have a belief about what their real potential is no matter what you tell them. And that affects how much action they take. And of course, that affects the result. And then ironically, that result reinforces their belief. And then that belief affects it. So I'll give you an example. Let's say a person has unlimited potential, we all agree. But they take little action, little results. Why? Because they have to start with a problem with their belief. They don't believe it's really going to happen for me. Maybe for Frank Kearns because he's got the cool hair and stuff, or maybe it's for you because you're so driven, but it's not me. Maybe Tony Robbins because he's a freak, got these big teeth. Whatever their thought process is, right? They got this thing, right? But what happens is if you believe that there's very little potential, how much action are you going to take? Nothing, little. And when you take little potential with a little action, what kind of results do you get? Lousy little results. And when you get little results, what does that do to your belief? You go, see, I told you this was a waste of time, told you this wouldn't work. And then what happens? You tap even less potential. You take even less action. You get even worse results, and your belief gets even weaker. And this sucker feeds on itself until you are in a downward spiral.
It's poisonous.
It's poisonous and it's self-fulfilling. Now, what if something could happen that could come along and fill you with a sense of absolute certainty? Not like I believe, but where you know. In you guys' case, mine as well, we knew because we had to. because we burned the boats. There was no other option. We had to find a way. We weren't going to live that way. We all did it in different ways and for different reasons, but in essence, that was it. If you get yourself in a state of certainty that this is going to work, I'm going to find a way, and if this doesn't work, I will make the way, then you tap a lot more potential. And when you're certain in your potential, you take massive action. When you take massive action, you really believe in something, you get great results. When you get great results, your brain goes, see, I told you I was a stud. I told you this thing would work out. Now you're even stronger. You tap more potential, take greater action, greater results. That's how you went from $300 in a week to $2,500 in 5 days to $100,000 in a month to $1 million in a day. Same thing with you. And we get momentum. That's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Now, some people go out and they go, well, I'm going to take a bunch of action. All right, I'm going to open this product. I'm going to try it. And they'll say to you, I even did it. But it's like a salesman who goes and knocks on the door, and he knocks on 100 doors and says,
you don't want one of these, do you?
yeah, exactly right. You know? And even if he doesn't say it verbally, his face says it because he doesn't believe it's going to work. So his voice, his body, the execution is so weak. Maybe if he talks to 100 people, somebody's going to buy out of pity. They don't want his kids to starve, right? But he's not going to get the result. So the core difference in people is, how do you produce certainty when the world isn't giving it to you? You go out and you try, in your case, you're 100,000 in debt, nothing's working. How do you keep yourself going? The way you did it, the way I did it, the way you're doing it, we may not have done it consciously, is we didn't change our potential. That was there. And it wasn't even taking more action. Taking more action with a belief it's not going to work, it's not going to change anything. We got results in our head that made us feel certain as if it had already happened. I want to show you what you can do with just...
Boom. Okay. I have something in my head I want to discuss, but thoughts, comments on that, Teresa?
Yeah, it's classic Tony. It's great stuff, right? I do want to chunk up the conversation one level though. Just
okay. I did too. Let's see your take. I agree with everything I said. I think there's one important concept that he's really leaving out, but you go first.
The concept I want to talk about first, to put this in the proper context, is to understand, and this is really controversial, and it took me a while to understand a long time ago, and now I see it everywhere, right? It's our reticular activating system, right? Once we
yeah, okay, I know where you're going. This is great.
I don't know. Let's see.
No, go. It's good.
The concept that life has no meaning except the meaning that we give it. Circumstances have no meaning except the meaning we give it.
True.
And if you understand that premise, you and I are on video right now. Mm-hmm. Somebody watching this may hate us. Somebody else may love us. I may look at this and say, oh, it was terrible. You may look at it and say, it's great. It's all the meaning that each individual is giving it.
Yeah.
And so if we understand that concept, then we can understand that our belief is everything. Our filter that we process our life means everything. Like he was talking about the salesperson who goes out and knocks on 100 doors and somebody said, hey, you don't want to buy this, right? Somebody else may look at that circumstance, be knocking on the door and say, I am one door closer to making a huge sale because the law of numbers it's just law, right? I know I'm going to get it. Or you could be that loser salesperson thinking like a loser saying, look at what a loser I am. 100 people just said no to me. It is the meaning that we give to it. And it's that meaning is based on our belief and how we look at the world.
Yeah, you can be a guy making 1 out of 100 sales or woman, and you're grateful for that. You're like, wow, because I just came from a third world country. Now my sale, I just upgraded my standard of living so much higher than what it was. I'm grateful for this one sale. This is amazing.
Or look at me. Look at what a stud I am. I knocked on 100 doors.
I had the courage to do that. That's amazing.
It's amazing, right? Great. Now I'm going to get better. You can have a learner mindset or a fixed mindset. You can have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset where it says, fixed, I'm a loser. I'm not good at this. Or, hey, I just knocked on 100 doors and I got 100 opportunities of feedback, right?
Yeah.
That's my contribution. That's my context that I wanted to add.
That's very, very good. I think one thing that Tony is pointing out, there's two things I took from this. Number one, if you believe in your ability of value, you got this spark of self-belief in you, people pick up on it. It does affect your body language. It affects how you talk. I have my website, my old day job, putting together trusts and companies and all of that. That website's still up. If you click on the video section, you'll see videos I did, 15 years ago. My energy is completely different because that's before I discovered self-hypnosis and up-leveled and all of that. And after I discovered hypnosis and upgraded my belief system, like we're in my core, it's like, oh my goodness, I had value. Within 2 years, my income doubled. And it's like, why? Well, I think the number one thing is when you believe in yourself, people pick up on it and they treat you differently. It's like you have like authentic confidence and people like it and they trust you more. They want to be around you more. There's a saying that people oftentimes don't buy the product as much as they buy the salesperson. You've heard of that, right?
I was just going to give you one of my isms, right? People buy energy. People don't even buy the person. They're buying the
your vibe.
They're buying the radiance. What are you radiating? What energy are you putting out there? That's
what is that making them feel?
Right. What is that energy communicating, radiating? How is it landing on that person? That's what people buy.
Yeah, 100%.
And if I may, when your self-belief improved, when your energy leveled up, so to speak, what kind of clients did you attract?
Wealthier clients.
Higher
more
net
and
worth,
wealthier.
a lot wealthier clients. Was that an accident?
No.
Is that a coincidence? Of course not.
I'll tell you a couple very interesting stories about self-belief. One happened to a guy I know, and one is a story from my own personal life. So back in 2005, I put friend in quotes. He's not a bad guy, but he stayed with me for 2 weeks. He was pitching his sales idea to venture capitalists. He had a business idea, pitch it to venture capitalists. Now, I had sold door to door in summer break between college years with this guy, and I thought he was kind of a train wreck. He smoked pot. He was very charismatic. He was tall, but I didn't think his work ethic was great at all, and I just thought he had a lot of issues. He stayed with me 2 weeks. He drove up in this junker Camry with half the front end torn off, one of the hubcaps missing. And he stayed with me for 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, I had two impressions about him. At this point, obviously, he's just starting out. He was broke. The first impression is this guy is kind of nuts. He's just all over the place. He's very scatterbrained. And he's kind of even crazier than I thought he was previously. My second impression of him was, oh my goodness, this guy believes at his core, he's going to be a multimillionaire. He believes he's going to be absolutely filthy rich. And I thought back then in 2005, I thought this guy is absolutely delusional. He's so full of crap. He's going to try, and he's just going to end up homeless or eventually give up and do some, blue collar job or just whatever. There's no way this guy can be super successful. But I was struck. He absolutely believed in his core that he was going to, he even told me, becoming rich is not hard. People just don't believe you can do it. And I'm like, this guy's a train wreck. He's delusional. No way. Well, he's worth like $50 million today.
I love it.
And yeah, it's just like, holy crap. Anyways, I'll tell you another thing. This is my own personal story. A while back, my old day job was estate planning and protecting people's wealth from lawsuits, business planning, etc. And I started that back in 2003, and I just phased it out last year, beginning of this year, so I can do this full time. And I was quite successful at it. When I first started out, my dad, he's like very risk adverse. And so he tries to kind of convey, hey, be safe, be cautious, by kind of crapping on the riskier ideas I have, because I was going into business for myself. I was jumping off the deep end of the pool, going into business for myself back in 2003. And so he was kind of saying, oh, be aware of this and that, and kind of crapping on my parade a little. And I said, Dad, I can make 150 grand a year at this. And I believe that deep down in my core. And I did, that's eventually what I hit. I mean, years later, adjusted for inflation, is a little more than that, but it's basically about 150. And then I'm a member of, John Modern Life Dating, his community, where they're up-leveling men, helping men with their career, success with women, self-esteem, fitness, all of that. And I'm a member of his community, and I see some guys, and I thought I was doing really good, making 150, 160, 180, whatever a year. And I'm like, I see some guys doing even better, much better. And then Jonathan Hogwood really starts taking off. And I said to myself, holy cow, I've set my sights too low. I thought I was doing great. And honestly, at that income, you get a lot of nice things. You can live very comfortably. And so I told myself, I should be making twice as much. And it was just kind of this inner feeling of certainty. Does that make sense?
Totally.
That it's going to happen. Well, guess what? It was like 2 or 3 years later, I hit that number. I doubled my income. And it's like you get the intention first. If you feel it deep down, one way or another, it just happens. Now, what I see happening here is our subconscious mind. You were talking about the reticular activation system, and I know that ties into the subconscious. I'd like you to explain that after I'm done. Our subconscious mind, this is neuroscience, it's been measured. Our subconscious mind processes 1,000 times more data per second than our conscious mind. However smart you think your conscious mind is, Jordan Peterson, like using all the big words, a very smart guy consciously, it's dwarfed by the subconscious mind of the dumbest person. Does that make sense? Because our subconscious is so much more powerful. It's a supercomputer. Everyone has it. The problem is, like any supercomputer, it will run whatever programs are in it. Most people's subconscious have viruses in them, and those viruses mess up their system and hold people back. You get those viruses out, and then you put that self-belief, I can do this, in your core, and you become like my friend 50 years ago, where I'm just like, this guy's nuts, will never make it. He's worth 50 million. I mean, he's been worth 20, 30, 50 million. I mean, for years now, It just happens. You get your subconscious mind, this supercomputer working for you. When you get this self-belief, I can do it. It's only a matter of time. When you get that in your core, now you get this subconscious working for you, and things just happen. And right when I set my intention to double my income, in a weird sort of way that I don't even consciously comprehend, my subconscious, the universe, whatever, things just aligned, and then it happened. It's so crazy. Have you noticed that? And you were talking about this reticular activation system, which is tied into your subconscious. Maybe share your experience, if you can relate to that, and what you were talking earlier about the reticular activating system.
Well, my definition of the reticular activating system, and the science, I'm a big picture girl. Yeah. The details escape me. Big picture, it is a filter that your subconscious uses because it processes so much information to filter out information, because we can't understand.
Consciously, we can't take it all in. Our conscious mind processes so much.
So if you buy a, yellow VW bug, right, which they used to be popular a long time ago, all of a sudden you start seeing yellow VW bugs. If you buy a red Ford Explorer King Ranch, all of a sudden you start seeing these red Explorer King Ranch. It's just a filtering process that we're wired with. And if I believe...
And what's going on there? Your subconscious is doing what?
Is filtering based on your belief.
It's bringing things to the attention of your conscious mind it thinks are important.
And going back to that salesperson who knocked on 100 doors, if he believes he's a winner, then he's going to look at that experience as, oh my gosh, look at 100 people that I knocked on doors, gave me exactly how I'm doing this wrong, so I can figure out a way to do it right. The one who's got a negative self-belief is going to look at it and say, see, I've talked to 100 people. They all think I'm a loser. I am a loser. That's what I believe. And they just gave me that feedback.
Yes. So I'm going to bring up James Clear, Atomic Habits. You know that book well?
Yes.
There is, and this Tony Robbins clip we just went through. If you go back about 3 minutes early in the clip, Tony Robbins talks about identity. James Clear has an article. You can put it in Google. It's called Identity-Based Habits. And what James Clear in this article says that what your identity is, consciously or subconsciously, it's really more subconscious than conscious, but conscious is important too. Your habits align with your identity, who you believe you really are. And to give you an example, let's say you're the salesperson, you believe you're a winner, you only made 1 out of every 100 contacts converted to a sale, but you believe you're a winner. Now you're going through life and your subconscious is scanning the world around you, and anything that has to do with becoming a better salesperson, with becoming the winner that is your identity, your subconscious is going to bring it to your attention, say, do this. And you're going to see it and you're like, wow, I should do that. And then you do that and then you get better. And your subconscious, noticing all these things, 1,000 more times of processing power, says, here's this other thing that aligns with his identity that's going to make him a winner. It shows it to you. You do it. You up level. You learn. When you believe in yourself, when you believe, okay, here's my dream, here's my goal, I'm worthy of it, I can get it, it's worth getting because I want it, you got to do something with your time. At that point, nothing's holding you back. You're going to go for it because you believe you can get it and you want it and you believe it's worth it and you deserve it. You're going to do something with your time. This is what your subconscious is going to lead you to want to do. But if you believe you're a loser, none of this winning stuff is going to be brought to your attention. You're not going to feel the desire to up level or upgrade. You're just going to want to stay small and safe because that's your identity. Our subconscious mind, I believe, is like gravity. It pulls us to wherever it thinks we should be, and it thinks we should be in alignment with the identity and the self-belief in us. Do you agree or disagree, or what would you say about that?
Completely, totally. Just, I work with a very niche financial services strategy, and everyone's heard the story of the lottery winner who ends up losing all of their money.
Most of them do.
It's based
because their identity is that of a poor person. It doesn't change just by getting a bunch of money.
Right. A $10 million check or $1 billion check, their identity is of a poor person. Mm-hmm. We are wired. It is amazing. It is an energy. It is a pull. That person will figure out a way to be poor. Will figure out a way to be poor.
Their subconscious figures out a way.
Their subconscious figures out a way to be poor. The
supercomputer figures it out.
It's amazing. Our outside world is a direct reflection of our inside world, and life has no meaning except the meaning that we give our circumstances. That person who won $1 billion lottery, there was a $1 billion winner not too long ago.
Yeah.
It was fascinating, right? I think it was one person who won $1 billion or 700 million or some outrageous amount. I'd be fascinated to track that person and to see who they were before and who they're going to be in 10 years.
Yeah.
And will that family be able to retain any amount of wealth from that winning?
Yeah.
It's fascinating. You don't need to tell me who you are. I can look at your outside circumstance and get a really good idea of who you are.
100%. Now, I'm going to throw a big wrench in it right now. I'm going to go back to your childhood where you said, I see these girls with the medals.
Yep.
I'm going to do whatever it takes to be that.
Yep.
You got that, but you still struggled internally.
Is that correct? So I thought having that position in school was going to give me what I wanted more than anything, which was probably at the time validation of who I was, right?
So you thought you could achieve that.
I thought I could achieve that.
You could have achieved it, but you didn't believe at that point in time that you were a good, worthwhile person. Is that correct or no? Would you put that differently?
That I knew I was a good person. Like I had a lot of validation about my goodness. It wasn't about, I was a good girl for sure. It was more about worthy. And so I achieved something, heck, I can look back at my life I was an overachiever. Why? Because I didn't think I was worthy, and I'd achieve something and I'd go back and, I got a law degree and I got licensed in 3 states. And then I went back to, okay, should I get a master's in law? And should I do this? And should I do that? I've got a ton of certifications. I believe at the end of the day, do I love to learn? Yes. Do I love to bring value to the world? Yes. But at my core, I probably didn't think I was good enough. And I kept trying to overachieve to make up for that hole that I had inside.
Yeah, and so this is the thing I told you earlier. There's one thing that Tony didn't mention. We really need to go there, and this is that, because I'm sure you know many of these people become incredibly successful, but internally they're still miserable because they feel they're not good enough. I have
all the money in the world, and you have all this stuff that maybe suggests, right, that you've got high self-esteem. You're going to ruin it. There are parts of your life that are going to show those cracks about who you really believe you are.
Yeah. So let's tie this. There's actually, for me, 2 aspects of self-belief. One is I can get what I want. Number 2 is who I am is good enough. One is about my ability. One is about my inherent value, deservedness, worthiness. Does that make sense?
Totally. And I think that right there is a topic that you could really dive into in another show, because there's so much right there.
All right, next week, probably you and me.
Love it.
But I want to point this out to our audience, and I'll tell you, I have a personal friend. A few years ago, it was 4.5 months into the year, he had already made $700,000. And I said, "Oh my goodness, you've made 700 grand. You're already in the 1% income bracket in like 4 months. How do you feel?" He's like, "I feel not good enough and unworthy because my friend is already at 1.2 million. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? But he doesn't feel that way anymore. We got him fixed. He's up leveled. But what some people do, some people say, I'm not good enough and I don't have, and I can't get what I want. And they play it safe. They stay small and they just have normal average lives. Then there's people who say, I'm not good enough, but if I work really hard and get all this success, then people will love me and I'll be good enough. This is Marilyn Monroe. This is Kurt Cobain, lead singer of Nirvana. To a point, this is Robin Williams. If you doubt me, watch the HBO Max show Come Inside My Mind about Robin Williams' life and the struggles he had because of his childhood trauma. There are people who believe they can get what they want if they try really hard, and then they get it. They have that aspect of self-belief, but getting what you want doesn't necessarily make you feel good enough. And after they get all this success, they still feel worthless or not good enough inside, and they're miserable, and things can blow up, things can fall apart, or they're still just not happy. So there's really 2 types of self-belief here. You got to believe in I have enough value just for who I am. And people who believe this naturally, they're born into homes where their mom and dad just demonstrate to them unconditional love, and the child gets the message, wow, I just have value just for who I am. Look, my mom and dad love me unconditionally. Even when I'm a brat, they'll discipline me, but I still know they love me. If you're fortunate enough to be, born in a house like that, you just say, I'm enough just as I am. For most of us, we have some aspect of, I'm kind of falling short, based on how we interpreted different things. We got punished. We did something wrong. We got punished. And we start tying our value to our success. It is tying our value to our success. Oh, if I'm getting what I want, if I'm successful, then I'm good enough. Number 1, it oftentimes doesn't work. Number 2, what if you get the success and then you lose it? Your self-esteem goes into the dumpster. So for me, it is important to get, number 1, I have unconditional value just for who I am, as well as I do believe I can get what I want. I can work for it and get it. You get those 2, you're going to live a great life, in my opinion. Do you have anything to add to that?
That's the premise of the work that you do with the SOS system and the
100%.
Dive to the 5, right? That is what you are helping your clients get foundationally from the inner work perspective.
And it changes everything.
It changes everything.
I'm still shocked at the results I get. I know you did a session for someone recently, and one session, her results were shocking. I showed you, she texted me, and I showed you, and you're like, oh, holy crap, you know?
This stuff works. And there, you know, one session, you know, forever, I don't know if that's
not going to fix, one session won't fix everything, but you can have permanent big changes in one session.
For every level, there's another devil. We uncovered a level. We were able to work within that, the devils in that level. And, you know, it's an onion, right? We peel the onion. She goes around and lives, and something happens, and it, you know, so it's a process. It is a journey. One thing I do want to say, Ryan, when we think about, but like when I was getting, you know, licensed in 3 states, let's say, or all the goals and objectives that I had, right? Mm-hmm. What was that about? Was it about the piece of paper that said, oh, I'm smart? Was it about the external validation? There was a feeling that I wanted. There was a sense of self that I was longing for, that I was working towards. You know, I work in money, right? I've got, you know, clients, they tell me their objectives and their resources and what they want to accomplish and their goals. And I ask them sometimes, why? Why is that number important to you? Why? What does that number, if somebody says to me they want to be worth $20 million, why $20 million? What does that mean?
Because then I'll be good enough, right?
What is the meaning that they're putting to that? I think sometimes it means that 20 million validates who I am as a person. But if you work on that self-validation first, I believe you can succeed way past the 20 million. Because once you get the 20 million, if you haven't worked on the inside job.
And even if you don't get the 20 million, you're still good enough.
Exactly.
Your worth is not tied to that success or failure. If your worth is tied to success or failure, then the failures devastate you. And if you have worth just for who you are, then when you fail, you're like, no big deal. I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow. I'm going to keep going. It's no big deal. You have some really hardcore, solid strength and resilience when you know you're good enough just for who you are unconditionally. And that is what leads you to more success ultimately.
You got it. It is all an inside job. What if you lost that 20 million? You know, people who steal or who do things in a manipulative, wrong way to get the 20 million and they lose it.
Yeah.
Very difficult for them to get that again versus someone who has that internal belief and that internal drive and have figured out a way to get the 20 million. If they lose it, they're able to get it again and get it again and get it again. Right. It is all an inside job. If you're looking 100%. Outside for validation, if you're looking outside for help me out here, for everything, it is a loser's game. It all starts inside.
And it's a bottomless pit. You see people make more and more money and
doesn't matter.
Yeah, they, like I said, my friend in 4 months made 700 grand, still felt not good enough. Right. Maybe you feel great temporarily and then you get used to it. And then you're like, it goes back to what's in your subconscious. I'm not good enough. It goes back to that. Your subconscious doesn't change just because you have success.
And that success is temporary.
Yep. The feelings that come from it. It's good to get that temporary feeling.
Yeah.
But you can give yourself the deep down validation, the deep down unconditional self-worth, self-belief. Now you got this core that is just going to take you places and you're going to overall be just much happier doing it. I'll just do one final comment on the layers of the onion. I've been working on myself the last 10.5 years. You do a lot more work up front, but there's still stuff for me I've been finding from time to time to clear. Each time you clear something, you're just doing way better. Wow, I cleared this. I'm doing so much better. After a while, I'm like, here's this other thing I struggle with. It's not quite as severe as what I cleared, but it's still messing me up. You clear that, you're doing even better. And life, if you just keep on working on yourself, peeling back the layers of the onion, up leveling to new levels, do new devils, conquer those devils, keep going up, life just gets better and better and better. It's amazing. So I'll give you the last word before we sign off. I know you have an appointment coming up pretty soon, but any final thoughts?
No, I think this is a great conversation. You know, a few key takeaways. If somebody has listened to this for the last 45 minutes and says, oh my gosh, there was so much there. What do I walk away with? I would say, think about the concept that life has no meaning except the meaning that you give it. Circumstances have no meaning except the meaning that you give it. And it is all an inside job. If you walk away with those two concepts, then everything else will start making sense.
Very good. It's an honor and pleasure to have you on. Guys, everyone I bring on my show, there's really kind of one prerequisite, which is there's someone who I know has transformed their inner world and has up-leveled. And so they know from experience that changing your subconscious, building your self-belief, learning to just unconditionally love yourself, believe you have massive value, believe you can do it. The more I do it, hey, I might be a beginner at this one thing, but guess what? The more I do it, the better I get until I have enough skill to get what I want. In addition to just knowing your value, worthiness, deservedness. Everyone on my show has had some sort of transformation so that they know what we're talking about is true. And Teresa is one of the best examples I know of that, besides, you know, myself, but because I came from a very low place. I've up leveled, but you have too. So congrats for you doing the work and for just up leveling to the awesome human being you are. And so that is our show for today. Teresa's going to start doing a weekly show. She's inner feminine. I'm inner masculine. We're going to get the female and the male perspective because we each bring something unique to the table. So this has been Inner Masculine Live with Inner Feminine, and we will sign off. But just remember, guys, you have more power than you know.